All right, I said we do react to some Andrew Wilson, and here we are. I unfortunately, the first time I recorded this and had some really good points to make, I did not have the audio working, so nobody heard anything from the video, and I was just talking to myself, arguing with people who weren't speaking. So I have watched about halfway. I think I got about here. So I'll try to re-articulate these points. It's gonna be really hard because like they were good points, and now when I regurgitate them and try to remember them off the cuff, it's not going to be great. So yeah, let's get into this. Basically, I think from what I've gathered so far, what they're basically arguing is like, um, whether like Christian ethics and like a Christian moral system is like beneficial to humanity or society or not, versus
But where do
secularism.
your morals come from?
Why would
Where
that
do they come
matter?
from?
Why would that matter? We're talking about the effects on
It's a pertinent
society.
question.
How?
Where do you look for your morals?
Same.
Where are you getting them
So
from?
so here's the thing. We're talking about the effects of Christianity on society. Can you tell
Yes.
me, no, even if Christians, I'm ceding, even if Christians are totally wrong and the whole shit is made up and out of their brains, it's still better for society
Uh-huh.
than whatever you have.
Yeah, so I'll try to make this quick and re-articulate some of these things that I talked about. Obviously, it's annoying that I went through all this and had like an off-the-cuff response that I all thought were pretty good, and now I have to like regurgitate them, so it's not going to be nearly as good now. Um, yeah, so Western society, including the America itself and the Constitution, is heavily based on Christian ethics and moral principles from Christianity, the Bible, the Gospels. Like it's all from there. This whole all the concepts like the tenets of God, things that you shouldn't do, things you should do, how you should treat criminals, how you should judge people, how like society should be structured. All of this is based through Christianity. Christianity has shaped the modern Western world for thousands of years. That's just fact. It's you can't argue it. I don't know why people still try to. They try to like nitpick little things like, well, not all the founding fathers were Christian. Yeah, but they were all deist and they were all like postmodern. Like they all came from the same. They're all looking at the same thing, and majority of them were Christian. And then like states all had Christianity as like their majority religions for a very long time until obviously the government decided to take that away because the government is authoritarian and wants power for itself and wants to federalize everything and make central power even bigger and stronger than it ever could, and doesn't want the states to be able to actually like dictate anything in the country, which is just like antithetical to what the founding of the country was. So we're not going to get into all that. But it's like they always try to nitpick these little things, and it's like when they try to articulate, it's like when they try to argue about like political violence in the country, and then they bring up like articles that then get redacted because in that article they labeled right wing violence as like 9 different categories that it could fall under, like with like 7 of those categories being nonsensical and not even having to do with actual political violence. There was like gang violence in prisons and stuff. Like, oh, there's like a white supremacist group in a prison and they do violent things. They were like literally tallying all of those up as right wing political violence. It's a fucking retarded. That's why that study got removed, by the way. Everybody's like, oh, they just didn't like what the study had to say. No, because the study was like actually retarded and like everybody agreed that this is wrong. And then the studies that came out afterwards that were properly done by third parties show very clearly. I think it was something like there's been like 47,000 incidents of like political left wing violence um, in the last few years versus like 900 something from the right wing. It's not even close. It's dramatically ridiculously one sided. And everybody with a brain knows this and with eyesight knows this. I mean, in 2020, in case everybody forgot, you had like people being shot and killed and executed on the street of Portland, Oregon, for wearing Trump hats. There's a video you can go look it up. It's just one case of many hundreds of that guy just walks up, goes, "Oh, we got a Trumper here." Dude's minding his own business. It's not even like a rally going on, a protest, or not. He's just walking down the street with a Trump hat, and the guy walks up and executes him. In broad, not broad day, it was nighttime, I think, but like right on camera, just like walks up, executes him, walks away. Like, please, dude. They shot that other guy at the other fucking like Trump rally. before. Like everybody knows wearing anything MAGA or a Trump hat is basically like you're basically painting a target on yourself, and there's a 50% chance that just going out in public with a hat on is going to get you a violent response from some unhinged leftist. Everybody knows this, right? Like everybody fucking knows this. Like let's not pretend. But like yeah, let's not pretend. But this is what they do: is they like try to obfuscate. Well, it happens over here too. So it's like okay, so yeah, it's really dumb.
Yeah, Mark. Yeah.
Where is your evidence of that?
Yeah, so here's my evidence of this.
Yeah.
Let's start with the secular nations not being able to reproduce themselves, Mark. And the more secularist a nation gets, the less likely they are to be able to reproduce themselves. Let's start with South
So what?
Korea. Can you pull
So
up?
what?
Can you?
Yeah, South Korea is basically not going to exist in like 3 or 4 generations. Like in another like 120 years, if they don't turn things around, like literally the country won't exist. It won't be able to self-sustain itself. Their population collapse is like worse than Japan's. It's super bad. And if you look at South Korea in from an objective point of view, like South Korea is very tied into like American politics and like Americanism in general, because essentially they're a fucking satellite nation of America anyway. I mean, we basically own the country, and you know, like a lot of the other European countries that don't like to admit it, but it's like how many United Kingdom military bases are in my country? Guess what? 0. How many U.S. bases are in your country? Oh, about 323. So who owns who, by the way? But yeah, I'm not gonna argue with Europeans about this. They really think like, oh, my country's so good because I have all these like government programs and subsidized incomes and all this like universal health care. It's like, yeah, who do you think pays for all that, by the way? It's American taxpayers that pays for all of that. You guys only get to do that because we cover you militarily, so you get to have these small tiny military budgets. You don't have to fucking defend yourselves. You don't even contribute to your NATO obligations properly. And then the American taxpayer subsidizes all of your fucking social programs for you. In return, we get to have all these military bases and military satellites in your country. So it's like it's so stupid. But I hate arguing with these people about this. It's like, okay, just go fucking Google a map, bro. Okay, how many military bases from Poland are in the United States? I'll wait. Okay, now go look and Google how many military U.S. installations, massive installations, by the way, with like thousands of people on them and troops on them. How many of them are in your country? Okay, let me know. Okay, so who owns who here? Thank you. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. But yeah, South Korea can't reproduce. I mean, Japan can't reproduce. It's funny because like even the left was like super like worried about this with Japan's like population decline, and like talked about this all the time. This actually used to be a left-wing talking point about like repopulation issues, because like for majority of like the history of the country, even Democrats and left-leaning people were also religious. Like a lot of them were Catholic or Protestant. Protestantism is kind of what led to the liberal movement in the first place. Like Protestant Christianity is very liberal in the first place. So a lot of liberals and Democrats for the longest time were actually like church faring Protestants. So, and they were very concerned about repopulation all the time. This was very much a left leaning talking point, and now it has to be a right leaning talking point because the right has become the liberal party essentially. like for the most part, it's really weird, modern American politics and how stupid it's become. But it's like people like this will argue, oh, it's not happening, and even if it does happen, it's fine, guys, because we'll just make test tube babies and we'll just clone people. We'll just import people from other third world countries to do all this manual labor for us.
Well, yeah. So wait. I'm sorry. How do you have humans flourish if you don't have humans?
Because they don't want humans, right? Bill Gates talks about this all the time. People like Bill Gates, people like Mark Reed. Their idea of flourishment is their own self-gratification. They don't care about society as a whole flourishing. They only care about themselves. So as long as they have the workers picking their avocado plants and watering their plants and building their homes for them, who cares? Who cares if the like hundreds of millions of people like can't afford to eat and whatever? Like they'll just die off. It's fine. We'll just replace them with robots and AI. Like that's what they want. I mean, these rich elites have talked about like depopulating the world for a long time. It's always been kind of like their MO, because their idea of utopia and perfect society is actually like this like kidless, immortal society where they all live forever They have robots and AI to do all like the menial tasks for them. It's like yeah, it's like it's very like dystopian, like kind of Blade Runner esque society. Like they really would love that. They really don't like poor people. They don't consider them people. They want to get rid of them. And then like they just like they lack the and well I'll get into this point later.
You can, like, just because the population isn't exploding doesn't mean people, are not well or happy or living well. What?
Yeah, but how do people live well if there's not population, right? So if there's 100 million people, right, between the ages of 60 to 90, but they only reproduce uh half of that for the ages like let's say 20 to 60, and then that group then even has half of that, then you can see how quickly there's a problem, right, Mark? Like very quickly, like the human race dies out, right? Now you could argue that like, hey, they'll find a way to still make society function and operate, but it won't be at the same level as modern society, right? So basically, what's happening is we're at the peak, right? We're at the top. We've peaked, guys. Like we're at the peak of human flourishment and living, and like this is the best it's gonna get. Now it's back downhill. So a lot of people don't understand is like in current modern day, as bad as people think it is, because it's like it's just mostly because of the disparity between the ultra rich and everybody else that you think like, oh, life's really bad and I just don't have all this stuff. Even the poorest person in the world, like at least in Western society, not in the world, but like let's say America, the poorest person in America still lives better than the Roman emperors did, than kings did. Not even like 500 years ago or 300 years ago. You live better than fucking any of the kings of England ever did. You have access to more wealth and more resources than people 200 years ago ever did. Even the richest people in society. So if we're at the peak, right, and then you don't keep replenishing or keep growing, now we decline, right? So yeah, maybe they could maintain some semblance of happiness and like moral cohesion, but it's definitely not going to be at this same level. It's going to be a decline. You inevitably have to give things up. If you don't, it's like there's a garbage worker strike here, right? If garbage workers strike, which they are here, trash builds up. By the way, like there's entire streets just littered with garbage because these people like don't know what to do with it. And then if you don't have the people who pick it up and dispose of it for you, guess what? Like things fall apart really quickly. So imagine those people don't have children and they're not replenished, right? Even in another level, let's just pretend, all the rich people and all the middle class people who have all the wealth in the country don't have kids, but all the poor people do, right? So let's say poor people keep having kids, like 3 to 4 at a time, and then all the rich people don't. Like all the rich people's wealth and middle class's wealth just kind of fizzles out and disappears into nothingness. It's not passed down generationally, which then their kids then make new job opportunities for other people and kind of reinvest that wealth into the country. It just disappears. It goes nowhere. And then you just have a country of like poor third world people who like don't know what to do and have nothing. Yeah, I don't know. And people like Mark, like their solution, they never have solutions, but when they do have solutions, they're always like the worst dystopian shit possible. So his solution is like, well, people don't want to have kids, that's fine. We'll just make test tube babies. We'll force fertilize women. We'll make like a breeder class, so then we can give birth to our worker class. Like it always comes down to slavery. These people just want slaves, whether they're importing like third world country immigration into the country to fill all these like jobs they don't want to do, so they can maintain their retarded way of life, their lavish way of life, and give these people less rights and less money. They're fine with it. It's like, okay, well, we'll just his answer to everything is just going to be, we'll just import people from third world countries. That's fine. Okay. The people don't want to have birth, then we'll just have forced fertilization. We'll do test tube babies. We'll just like in vitro people. Like it's so stupid. It's like he just advocates like, oh, we're gonna do the Handmaid's Tale. It's like,
what makes you
Mark, do you
think
know
that
how to do
overpopulation
math?
and
but the point is like, if people don't replenish to fill jobs, like, because he makes an argument later on. I wish I didn't have to re-record this because this all lined up really well when it was happening. But he makes a point like in a little bit about like, oh well, there'll be more job opportunities for people because there's less people. It's like, bro, are you retarded? Like it just doesn't even logically track. It's like, okay, but you're not gonna have enough people to fill those job opportunities, Mark. Like how are you gonna replenish the people who do like manual labor, who build your houses, who make the infrastructure, who pick up the trash, right? Which I had a whole tangent in there too about like how as a society we really do applaud and prop up the worst degenerates of modern society. That's like one of my biggest gripes with modern society, and even like streamer and content creator culture is like we really prop up some of the dumbest fucking human beings on the planet with like actually nothing to offer anybody. It's just like, but it's like, just think for about it. Like, how horrible would your, like, how much worse would your life get if suddenly nobody's picking up your trash every week? It'd get pretty bad, wouldn't it? Because then it's like, oh fuck, now I'm gonna have to like start cutting back how much trash I get. I'm gonna have to like start driving this out myself, to sit in line, to wait to like dispose of it. Like, your life gets progressively worse, right? Like, it doesn't get terrible, but it gets worse, right? It gets a little worse, right? But you don't have these people doing these jobs for you, right? We look down too much on people who do jobs that are necessary for society as a whole to flourish, right? People who build houses, do electricians, carpenters, plumbers. We look down on truck drivers. We look down on garbage workers, when like we should be praising these people. We should be paying them more, and we should be like revering them as a necessary thing to keep society functioning. Like, they're great. Like, without them, everybody's life gets progressively worse. They make our lives easier, right? And not these fucking NBA superstars that dribble a fucking ball for 5 years. Half of them don't even take it seriously anymore. The modern athlete compared to the athlete of 20 years ago is a fucking joke. I think anybody who watches sports from back then compared to now, like, there's no way you wouldn't agree that, like, yeah, these, like, it's embarrassing. Like, these modern athletes are fucking an embarrassment compared to their predecessors. But we pay them hundreds of millions of dollars to dribble a ball, or to hit a ball, hit a baseball, to play football. They don't really contribute anything. In fact, they wouldn't be able to even do those things and do that entertainment if it wasn't for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of other people that like built the stadiums for them, set the infrastructure for them. Like, it wouldn't even be possible. So it's like, I just think society's ass backwards in the fact that like we praise and revere like celebrities that like don't actually contribute anything like, they don't contribute really. They could all disappear. Hollywood could disappear tomorrow, and the world would actually probably improve, actually. Like, oh, you don't have entertainment anymore. There's plenty of ways to be entertained. People used to entertain themselves by fucking throwing rocks outside. The humans can entertain themselves in a lot of ways. It's just like, an entertainment is not isn't like flourishment. Like, it's not, they don't equate to each other. You don't need entertainment to flourish as a person. Like, doesn't make any sense. Or to be happy. Like, it's just not true. So it's like Hollywood could disappear overnight, and it would actually probably be a net positive, or at least at worst a net neutral, right? But if every garbage worker suddenly disappeared overnight, we'd have societal collapse in like 3 days. So, and I've seen it firsthand because that's happening in my state. They've been on like a 190-day strike, and like there's whole like suburban towns that are just like falling apart. Like, they don't know what the fuck to do. So yeah,
tons and tons of humans is actually somehow people not being well. How did you get there?
Do you need to have humans for the humans to be well?
Do you really think out of 8 billion humans on this planet that suddenly we're just all going to die out? Is that what happened?
Yes, very quickly, actually. Like, yes, just do the math, Mark. If my children have half the amount of children that I have, right? Let's say I have 2 children. My children only have 1 child. Okay, right? If it keeps decreasing, like, like 20, 30% every generation, very quickly, yes, you run out of enough people to sustain infrastructure and society as a whole as it currently functions. You need to like the whole point is like, it needs to keep expanding, right? A lot of people argue, and I argue too, is like, we actually don't even have enough people. That's why we have to immigrate people into the country. That's why we're doing immigration in the first place, is because we just don't have enough people to fill jobs and roles. What are you confused about, Mark?
Mark, you need to look at the UN projections for the last 60 years. They have not hit any of their marks for the projection of population. They're predicting population collapse Mark. They're predicting
what?
population collapse.
I'm gonna let this play through for a little bit because like I already kind of talked about a bunch of points because I think I ended like right here, so I'm just gonna let it play through for a bit because I did go on like a 15-minute tangent.
In almost every
Okay.
single Western nation, which can't reproduce itself, in most of the Asian nations can't reproduce themselves. They're looking at China having half of the population in only 70 years.
Yeah,
Mark.
China's on a
How's
total collapse.
secularism helping us here with human
think-
flourishing? Can't even reproduce your own nations.
Oh, this is hilarious. You think population decline is like civilization collapse? Is
Yeah.
that
Yes.
really what you
Literally,
think so?
that's literally
Yeah.
what it
Oh,
is,
it's
bro.
Doom and gloom. Oh dear. Oh dear. It's not like there's
Yes,
any
it's a
other
warning.
humans on the planet that could possibly be flourishing at all.
Like the
when
religious ones?
population of the planet.
Yeah,
You mean
like-
the
you-
religious
you mean
ones
like
who keep
Muslims?
on
You mean like
populating, Mark,
Muslims?
those ones?
You mean like Muslims having like a 3-to-1
Not
birth rate?
necessarily.
Oh, necessarily, Mark. I'll tell you what. Show me any secularist society which is their population's increasing domestically. Show me any. All of the populations which increase are religious. You're right, Mark. There are going to be some humans who continue to populate. The religious ones.
Yeah, I don't, it's a non sequitur. It's
Oh, what's the
basically
non
doesn't
sequitur
follow.
here?
It's basically a slippery slope argument to say because there is
It's not a
decline in
slippery slope.
population,
This is
then
empirical
so-
data.
Then populations have to bottom out and we're all going to go extinct. I mean, will you listen to this non?
I mean, bro, let's seed the argument. It is a slippery slope. Okay, we're warning you about what is going to happen if we don't address this now, right? It's preventative maintenance versus non-preventative maintenance, right? If you just like his whole idea is like, I'm just gonna like I don't believe any of this. I'm just gonna. It's like, it's crazy that the people who make this guy will make the same argument that Andrew was making, right, for environmentalism, right? Not conservation, because they're not about conservation at all. Their environmentalism is like a whole scam in itself. But let's use their argument about environmentalism, right? The world's gonna die, it's gonna burn up, the environment's gonna be unstable, unlivable in 30 years. Well, it's always like 10 years away, but it's been like they've been saying that for 100 years at this point. So, but let's pretend, right? Well, we have all this data that shows like this is a slippery slope, that if we keep doing this and putting all this carbon in the air, the world's going to become unlivable, and we should handle this now instead of dumping it on our children. But when it comes to repopulating the country, the planet, he has the opposite take, where it's like, don't want to deal with this right now, and it's like I'm not going to acknowledge the empirical data that says, hey, this is a problem. I'm just going to pretend it's not a problem. And then when it does happen, because he'll say this later on, well, when it does happen, I'm sure they'll figure it out. Like, they'll just have test tube babies and make robots and AI.
Nonsense.
Mark.
Even if that is the situation,
Uh-huh.
in a doomsday situation where society collapses because we can't procreate, we can still make people. There's IVF. There's
can
all
make
kinds
people.
of things. There's,
We can
you
make
know,
people. Keep in mind, these in this utopian world that the leftists envision, when you really break down their worldview, it's always about it's about themselves, self-gratification, and like establishing. Like, it always goes back to slavery. It's always funny how they always turn back into slavers every time. Left-wing politics always turns back into slavery. Communists were the same way. There's always got to be this underbody class, this nobody class that doesn't really exist in society, that does all this basically slave labor for nothing. So the rich and the ultra rich can get to profit off it and live lavish lifestyles. It's always been like that. They always go back to their roots, which is just slave labor, or just in this case, he just wants to create a breeder class and then breed slave labor until eventually they get the technology to be able to just make robots and AI to do it, and then they can just evaporate. Then they can just murder and kill and genocide out all the poor people because they don't need them anymore, and then they'll just have robots and they'll live forever.
we can address these issues
Okay.
as we go along.
How?
It's not the doom and doom thing.
How do you
But
address them?
What I notice is that you will not answer any of my questions.
Yeah, it's
I
not. This
asked you
isn't a
where-
God not real
where
debate.
you
This
get
is
your
about the
morals
effects.
from,
Why
and
does
you
that
just
matter?
Ignore it altogether.
I seeded it.
Why should I answer your
Do you know what?
questions?
Do you know what seeding the
You
point
seeded
is?
it.
Yeah, I just
So
seeded it.
you are a delusional person
Sure.
with this fantasy in your head.
Sure.
Doom
Yeah.
and gloom. The world is going to
Sure.
collapse into a
Tell me how I'm
a
wrong.
mess.
Tell me
because
how I'm
look,
wrong, Mark.
Yeah,
Tell
how's
me
he
how
wrong,
I'm
Mark?
Because it's a slippery slope.
There's no
Even if
slippery
So even if it is a slippery slope, Mark, how is he wrong?
population goes down, we
No.
can address a lack of population.
Then
we
how?
do not need
How?
In other words, when it happens, it's not my problem. I'm sure they'll figure it out. They'll just make babies. They'll just make humans in test tubes. They're just force and feed a lot. Forced fertilization methods. They'll make a breeder class. They'll just do the Handmaid's Tale, and then we'll have like a permanent like slave labor class that we birth, and we train them to be construction workers and do all this like this grudging work, and then yeah,
8,
it's so
9, 10 billion people
How do you
on
know,
this
Mark?
planet
How do you
in
know?
order to keep a stable population.
Okay, Mark, let's find out if this is true. You say that this is I'm making a slippery slope argument.
By the way, he's literally like Grok AIing his takes. This is what they all do, by the way. If you watch a lot of leftist debate, you'll constantly see them like looking away like this. He's basically typing out something in probably like Chat GDP or something. That's probably where he gets all his talking points. He's fully prepared for this. Probably studied beforehand. These guys always come unprepared. They come with like 2 talking points they think are like slam dunks that they looked up in Chat GDP, and then he'll spend the whole debate just like Googling stuff to so he sounds smart.
Are you aware how the
Yes.
slippery slope fallacy?
And if you don't think you think I'm lying, by the way, there's gonna be a point after this where he goes, "Well, hang on, my browser's not working." It's because like he's trying to like Google something so he can counter his argument and not look stupid.
Yes, it's when you point out a causal link to something and then project it down on a series of unlikely circumstances that you cannot possibly know in order to reach a conclusion that doesn't actually follow.
Okay, would you say it's a slippery slope argument if I say if people don't have sex, they're not going to have kids?
What?
Is that do you think that that's a slippery slope?
No.
No, why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
So he's gonna do everything he can to avoid answering the question because it's already starting to click in his head that like he's been caught in a gotcha already. Because like he just refuted his entire argument right there. Because if he agrees that like, hey, having children, if you don't have children, if you don't reproduce, you're not gonna have children. That's not a slippery slope argument. Like he's already been defeated and he knows it. So now he's gonna try to like avoid the question as much as possible. And he's going to try to change the subject. This is what they always do.
Well, aside from just a slight change I would make to that is people that do IVF can have kids without having sex, by the way. So there is that.
Well, no, not people, women. So I guess I would make a slight caveat to that too, Mark. But anyway, the point is,
Sure.
if people don't have sex, we're not going to have kids. You agree that that's true, right?
Yes.
Do you agree that if we don't have kids, we're not going to have humans?
If I agree don't have kids, we're not going to have humans. Yes.
Okay, great. So then if I point to a country and the country's not having kids, then the human supply is decreasing or increasing, Mark?
Second answer.
Yeah. So
answer the question,
Your
please.
idea that I'm doing your argument here is people in that country are still having sex and people in that country are still having kids.
That's not what I asked you.
They're
I
not,
asked you,
though.
is the population...
Bro, that doesn't even make sense, Mark. They're literally not having kids. That's what the empirical data says. You're like, you can't be like, well, there's still some people who are going to have kids. Yes, but not at enough rate to replenish what you're losing. People die, Mark. And these guys' worldview, by the way, because they all want to be immortal. All these rich CEOs, these rich people, these rich leftists, they want to be immortal. They think they're like gods. They self-interpret like everything through their own like world lens. Like they are the moral arbiters. It's their preferences, whatever they decide is morality of that day. So it's like they all think that like they are gods. They all want to live forever. That's their goal. They don't even think about death. It's not even an occurrence to them. We all die, but like they don't think about it. They're terrified of it. They want to live forever. So in their worldview, this whole concept, like it's just like they don't even think about it. So he's completely lost in the sauce. Like this idea of like, yes, Mark, if people die and don't birth enough people to replenish the people who die, because people do die, Mark, nobody lives forever, not even you, then society collapses because then you don't like, yeah, okay, Mark, there'll be more opportunities, sure, but there won't be enough people to fill those opportunities. And then what happens, Mark? Oh, you don't have enough construction workers. Oh, you don't have enough truck drivers to drive your food to the grocery store. Oh, you don't have enough people to stock your grocery store. Oh, rich people don't have children? Okay, all that wealth evaporates into thin air then. And it doesn't get repurposed into the society as job opportunities. Like it literally all collapses, Mark. How do you not understand this?
Increasing in human supply or decreasing in human supply?
It's decreasing.
It's decreasing. And don't you
Yes.
want, I'm sorry, but the whole point of human flourishing, I would assume, is that you want the humans to flourish, right? Isn't that the whole point?
When did I say human flourishing in that context?
Well, what?
What?
So you just wait. I'm super confused. Help me out. Help me out, Mark. How do we have human flourishing if there's not humans?
Well, I'm having problems with my browser.
Yeah, you're having problems. All right.
Yeah, I'm having problems with my. Oh, there we go. Okay, gotcha.
Uh-huh.
All right. So human flourishing, like you're basically saying people will not have kids, but the funny thing is this, that the people that will actually keep going are the people that do have kids, because people are having kids in those countries. So your statement that, hey, people aren't having kids in those
Yeah, Mark. Who's having the kids, Mark? Religious people, Muslims. Who's on track right now? What religion is on track right now to become the most dominant religion in the world at the moment? Oh, that's right. It's Islam. Why is that, Mark? It's because they literally are immigrating everywhere to every country, and they keep having children. They go to these countries and they repopulate. They all have 3 to 4 children on average, right? If everybody else in that country has 1 child, but all the Muslims have 4 children, what generation is going to inherit the country, Mark? Right? Now, so then we get into a debate of like, okay, well, is the Muslim worldview good for society as a whole or not? Let's argue that one, Mark. Because, like, by your own logic, oh, everything's fine because the Muslims are going to come in, they're going to immigrate here, they're going to do all these slave labor jobs for me in the short, because these people don't think in long term. They don't actually care about anybody but themselves, like not even their own children. They don't care about the future of society as a whole, or about human race as a whole. They don't look at it that way. It's like, well, it's not going to affect my life, so what the fuck do I care? Like, what do I care? What do I care if, like, in 30 years the entirety of Great Britain is predominantly Muslim? Like, what do I care if that happens? Like, doesn't affect me. And then it's like, let's just assume, oh, well, he doesn't have children either. Okay, well, I don't have children either, so who cares? Like, once I'm dead and gone, who cares? I'm gonna live my life, enjoy all my self gratification, live my lavish lifestyle, and keep and if everything falls apart and collapses, that's not my problem to deal with. That's basically his whole argument.
Countries is not actually
Is there
true.
a threshold?
People
Mark?
will still continue to have kids, and then it
Yes,
will
the
reach
religious
a
people.
stabilizing point, because hey, the descendant
It doesn't reach a stabilizing point. It decreases, right? If you have 9 billion people right now, and society is at this point, right? We're at the tippy top of the societal ladder, Mark, and like we're at the peak. If you keep having less and less people, there's not as many opportunities, there's not as many like jobs being created. Like the statistically, right? Let's say 1 in every 1 million people is a genius who, you know, is the next Nikolai Tesla, who like helps like modernize the world in ways we've never seen, right? Like 1 out of like 100 million people are the next Nikolai Tesla in terms of intelligence and the innovations they bring, right? Or let's say the chances of somebody who can cure cancer is like 1 out of like 100 million as well, right? So if you're not reproducing enough people to make that happen, then you don't get the guy who shows up to cure cancer. You don't get the Nikolai Tesla who revolutionizes and innovates the entire modern world, right? You don't get these things, right? The more people you have, the more people who are reproduced, the higher the population gets, the more likely we have super highly intelligent people that come and change a lot of things, and things improve. Like more people tend, like it's on a track, if you chart it out, that more people tends to make society better, right? And if anything, we still don't even have enough people. Like evidence shows that we still don't have enough people currently, even at like 8-9 billion, to actually like populate all the jobs and all the things that are needed for society to actually function. We still don't have enough people. So it's like, so losing more people from here only is going to decrease things. Like it's just going to get worse. So like, sure, it might stabilize at some point, but like it's inevitably going to be worse and at a lower point than it is now. Like I don't understand what you don't understand.
people having kids will have kids of their own, and just because you know, people, the population.
Now this is pretty much where I ended last time before I realized I wasn't recording the audio. So
is declining,
This will all be new.
like that means the population growth is declining, doesn't mean it's going to have a collapse. You have not linked that in. You have not tied.
Because it's just fucking common sense, Mark. He shouldn't have to explain that to you. You are like, I don't know who the fuck is Mark Reed in the first place. Like, fucking Google Mark Reed. He's a fucking. Wait, is this guy? Did it say he was a soccer player? He's a software engineer. Okay, Jesus Christ, bro. Like, you're educated, brother. How do you not understand the logic here? Like, the logic tracks. Why do you think the UN tracks these things? Why do government agencies and bodies track population numbers and like fertility rates? Why is that important to them? They just do it for fun, Mark?
That not.
Great.
And the statement that
Yeah.
people in these countries aren't having kids is ridiculous.
Oh.
As there is less
They are not having kids. Like, it's all documented.
people, there will be more opportunities for people to.
In the short term, but in the long term, that also means those opportunities don't get filled, Mark. If there's not enough people to fill those opportunities, then guess what? Society degrades. Like, life degrades. Quality of life degrades. If you don't have enough people building your homes, building your infrastructure, society degrades.
To have larger families.
I see.
It is an ebb and flow.
I see.
So, eventually it will reach a stabilizing point. We can have immigration. We can
import slave labor.
Stabilize this. It's not a problem at all. Nobody thinks it's a problem except for these.
Now, what happens, Mark, when South America, let's assume it has 100 million people in South America. What happens if they also don't reproduce, and then we keep importing them to try to offset our reduced numbers, right? This is my problem with these people. Is like, it's always about like punishing the third world so the Western world can thrive, right? His whole philosophy and the philosophy of all these leftists is like, the burden is not on us, it's on the third world. Like, it's always putting the burden on the third world. What does like the whole Renew Deal movement do, right? Oh, we got to end fossil fuels. Like, the Western world can very easily, I don't even know if did I already rant about this, by the way? I can't remember if I ranted about this in this video or the last one, but I'm gonna rant about it again. The Western world could very easily go carbon neutral, like a net zero, right? We could definitely do that, by the way, and it wouldn't actually impact the Western world and like quality of life that much. We really could get rid of fossil fuels or decrease the usage exponentially. And we have the technology, we have the manpower and like the wealth to be able to offset that and kind of make it work. We could do it. The problem is like, these people then apply the same concepts to third world nations, right? Third world nations cannot do this, right? They are too far behind. They don't have the infrastructure. They don't have the manpower, the education, the systems, the money in place to swap to these things. So you inevitably punish them and put all of the burden on them. So if Africa can't burn fossil fuels to catch up to the rest of the world, Africa remains a third world shithole, which is kind of what's happening, is it not? So then you use that to then manipulate them and take advantage of them. All these wealthy businesses like Apple and like, you know, people who make all the Android phones like Samsung and all this shit, they go over there and they take advantage of these people and they basically make them into slave labor, right? So it's like, it always comes down to slavery with these people. Like, their whole world revolves around, we'll just solve the problem by just importing immigrants and just giving them slave wages and treating them like subhumans, and it's like, it's fine. And then when they run out, we'll get more. We'll just go get more. Okay, eventually it's like, we'll just go attack other nations and just take their people and forcibly enslave them if we have to. Like, it's all about them. It's all about their own self-gratification. It's not about the bigger picture, society as a whole, human flourishing as a whole. It's only about their own flourishing. It's all he cares about is his own flourishing, his own metrics, and people like him flourishing. He doesn't give a fuck about poor people. Like, we'll just import. Okay, poor people won't have kids. My worker class won't have kids. I'll just import more. Oh, I'll just breed more out of test tubes.
Crazy doomsdayers.
Man, that's so true. South
Crazy
Korea.
doomsdayers, yeah. Why face problems and address them? Why do that? Let's just wait until it happens, Mark. And then, yeah, it's just like, it's so stupid. It's such a fucking, this guy, I said it in the elevator, so I'll just say it here. Like, this guy is such a fucking faggot. There's no other word to describe him.
It has declared a demographic national emergency due to its extreme low birth rate, those science-denying doomsdayers. The country's fertility rate, which measures the average number of children a woman is expected to have, is the lowest in the world. The crisis has prompted the government to implement various measures aimed at boosting the birth rate and addressing the broader demographic challenge. Why? Because it's at 0.72, Mark, which means there's not going to be a South Korea in 100 years at that rate, Mark. It won't be there mathematically, Mark. They won't exist.
No.
So
It's
why
people are just
do you
gonna
think
vanish.
that these
Maybe
South
they'll
Koreans?
be raptured. Maybe they'll be.
Why do you
raptured.
think that
Maybe
these
that's what's
South
gonna
Koreans,
happen.
Mark? Why do you think the South
Really,
Koreans are such
the
science-denying
crisis
math
the
haters?
The crisis isn't that they think that the population's suddenly going to vanish into the ether, as Andrew's trying to suggest. The problem is an aging population and taking care of people that are older. If you don't have enough population, it's kind of harder to take care of people that are older. Luckily, we have sort of solutions for this automation technology, things that Andrew
Robot-
Yeah, here it comes. Here it comes. I haven't even seen this yet, so it's like, oh, here it comes. I told you.
Bots are going to take care of
He
you.
doesn't explain how he gets his aughts at all.
Why do I need to though?
Yeah. Why do you need to?
Yeah, just get them
Because
from the
it's a
same place you do.
fundamental
Me.
basis. It's a,
I get them from the same place you do. Me.
okay. So
Mark, Andrew Wilson, am the arbiter of all things which are moral on planet Earth. Me personally, Mark.
you personally.
Me personally.
So what is your goal?
So this is where he always gets them, because like this is what I've said before is like, if you don't have like the difference between, you know, Christians and seculars, right? These atheist people like Mark Reed here is like, his worldview is just his preferences. Whatever he feels like in the moment makes sense to him. What makes him feel good that day, that's what his preferences are. And then a lot of his moral and ethics are actually based on, once again, Christianity. Whether he wants to admit it or not, it is, because the moral and ethics of Christianity are not shared across all religions. Like culturally, a lot of cultures are very different, which he would agree to. Right, so it's like you have tribes that have never been touched by humankind, and they literally are cannibals. They will eat people. They will kill and murder and eat people. Like they've never been touched by Christianity. God has not found them. So it's like they have very different cultural standards and moral compass than, you know, the most of the Western world. But he's never even thought about this critically for 1 second. Like, why do I think killing is bad? Why do I think stealing from people is bad? Why should I love everybody and love my neighbor and generally be kind to people and talk about my problems? Like, why do I judge criminals this way? Are they actually criminals? Who dictates if they're criminals, Mark? So now he's using his own like secularist view against him. It's like, well, because I'm just like you, Mark. I'm secularist. I don't have a higher power and authority that tells me how to think and how to feel about things and how the world should work. So I'm just going to be like you. And by your own like worldview and your own logic, I just make shit up. So I've decided today that I am the moral arbiter, and this is how things work, and it is what it is. And he can't process his own fucking worldview, because he doesn't even know where this shit comes from. Like, he doesn't even know why he believes what he believes. He just does. Oh, I just do. And that's what they'll say all the time. Oh, I just inherently know. People just inherently know what's right or wrong. No, they fucking don't. They have to be raised and taught what's right or wrong, right? People don't inherently know things, right? Like, that's absurd to even say.
That you're working towards then.
Of all
because if that was true and there was an inherent set of values that we are all born with that we know inherently, well, then there wouldn't be so many different cultures and different like people, would there? Like, you're basically would be saying we are all the same, which we're not.
Humanists.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And can you tell me why that's wrong, Mark?
Why is that wrong?
Yeah. Where do you
I
get
think
your
it's
odds
wrong
from?
Because it's sort of, you know, it goes against what I want, which is
Oh,
human well-being for
it
all
goes
humans.
against what you want.
It goes against what you want, exactly.
So what you want goes against what I want. What I want goes against. I'm glad that we were able to clear that up, Mark.
So
you
you're
philosophical,
basically just saying, hey,
juggernaut.
You would like to get rid of me, and I say, hey, I want the best for all humans
So
out
what?
there.
Yeah. So what makes you right?
So I think more humans will be on my side.
Oh,
that,
so it's
hey, you can't
consensus?
just
Yeah,
get
it's all
rid of
against
me.
consensus then.
consensus,
It's just popular
You don't
opinion.
think society is run by consensus?
Well, whether
No,
it's
it's
run
not.
by consensus or not, you think you derive your moral odds from consensus?
No.
Oh, well then where do you get them from, Mark?
Where do you get them from, Mark?
I get them from an empathy and reciprocity, and I get them from deciding that and feeling that humans are important.
And who gets to determine what that is? You?
I do, yeah.
Oh, so then you're the ultimate arbiter of morality, just like me.
So you're basically saying that your morality is trying to eliminate me off the face of the earth.
No, I
because
said
you
my
don't
morality
like-
is everything that I want, and one of those
No,
things
you
is making
said-
sure your
you
ideology is
said-
wiped off the face of the earth. Yeah.
You said your goal is to eliminate secular humanists. That's
No,
what you said your
humanism.
goal was. Eliminate secular humanism.
Yeah.
And how will you achieve this?
Oh,
if
well,
I say, hey,
if I
I'm
like,
not going to change my
here's what I would
beliefs,
do.
how are you going to
As
do
the
this?
unilateral dictator of the world, I would outlaw secular humanism, and if you practiced it, I'd put you right in jail.
Okay, so you would take away my freedom because I disagree.
Yeah,
with
why
you.
is that wrong, though, Mark?
Christian morals, ladies.
Why
and
is that
gentlemen,
wrong, though,
Christian
Mark?
morals.
Why is that
Why
wrong?
why is it wrong,
Why
Mark?
is that wrong?
Yeah.
Well, how would you like it? If
It's
I
not
basically said-
it's not Christian morals, Mark. He's arguing from your viewpoint, Mark. Okay? He's adopted your views and your secular views to argue against you. That's what he's doing, Mark. You don't like it very much, do you? It doesn't make a lot of sense, does it, Mark? Well, guess what? It's because your whole ideology makes no sense. That's not Christian ethics. That's not Christian morality, right? He's not locking you in prison, is he? Right? It's like he's arguing from your worldview, Mark.
said, well, I'm just going to throw all Christians in jail. Wait, don't you guys say this, that atheists just want to destroy Christianity?
Yeah, but
and
Mark,
stuff?
why is it actually wrong except that you're the arbiter of all that is moral?
You're the arbiter of all that's moral.
I
You just
agree.
said
So if I'm the arbiter of all that's moral, then if I'm going to imprison all secular humanists, that's moral, right?
it's moral for you. It's not for me.
Oh, so then who's
It's forced doctrine at the end of the day. Basically, like with all these secularist humanists, right? Though at the end of the day, because it's not based on a higher power, a higher authority, it's based on their preferences. This is why in the communist revolutions, by the way, because it wasn't based on any sort of like higher authority, it was just based on their preferences at the time, and it's why they had so many so much infighting, and why there's so many like top regime changes inside of all these communist countries, especially like Russia. Like how many times did like the Russian elites like end up like murdering and killing each other to take power and usurp power from each other? They literally did for a utopian society that was supposed to get along and be all about the people. None of them ever got along with each other, and they were always conspiring against each other all the time, and it was always about me, 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 me. So it's like when everybody's me, 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 and there's no higher power, higher authority to arbitrate these things and serve as a baseline for everybody to look to, right? Everybody, Christians aspire to be Jesus Christ, right? We want to be like Jesus Christ. He is our moral arbiter, our moral figurehead. Like he is our moral authority. Like we want to be like him. When you don't have that, like especially case in point, this just trickles down to like this is why fatherless households are bad, right? This is why the black culture is so bad, because they have a lot of fatherless problems, right? They don't have a moral authority in the home. They have a mother who probably doesn't have very good morals in the first place. This is why she's a single mother most of the time. Not always their fault, but a lot of the time it is their fault. And then it's like, how do they turn out? Well, they turn out very violent and very greedy and very selfish because they have no higher authority, no like moral figurehead that they look to and go, that's what I want to be. That's what I aspire to be like, right? They don't have heroes. They don't have father figures. They don't like Christians have a father figure. Our father is Jesus Christ. We look to Jesus Christ as our moral authority, right? So it's like we don't just wishy-washy decide on a whim like today I'm just, you know what, killing's great, I'm just gonna go kill. No, we don't do that because Jesus commanded us not to, because he is our moral guiding authority. He is our father figure. He's our, not like for some people he's their hero, right? Like, however way you want to define it, right? He's the guidance, he's the guidepost for how human behavior and how we should behave with each other, right? Like Mark doesn't have those things. Seculars don't have that. It's my preferences, right? And their preferences can only be enforced through forced doctrine. He's even said it himself. Like, well, it's consensus, and like I will talk to people, and if they agree with me, then you know what? You're wrong. I'm right. I'm gonna put you in prison. I'm gonna ostracize you from society because we came together as a consensus. We formed this block of force, right? This block of force that you can't fight against, and we're going to ostracize you. That's basically what he's saying.
the ultimate arbiter of morality for you?
Who said there was ultimate arbiters?
Well, so there's just a arbiter? Who's that?
Well, it's intersubjective. We kind of talk among
Intersubjective?
ourselves and sort of say, hey, what do you want? What do you want? And most people
Well,
do
what
want
happens
to
when you want
have
different things?
and understand that we live together and have to provide each other.
Yeah, you know what? People say that, but they don't actually believe it. And then let's even break it down further. Mark is like, well, why do they feel that way? Oh, because they were born in a Western Christian society, like that's based on Western Christian fundamentalism. So this is why they have these basic principles in their heads, right? They were raised into this. But like, what happens when you're not? What happens when you're raised in a secluded village in the middle of nowhere in South Africa that's never been touched by any of this, doesn't have any connection to society? Oh, you turns out you turn into a cannibal and you have very different moral standards. You do not hesitate to kill people who are not like you. Like this is like there's so many case examples of this, bro. Like what don't you understand?
With some kind of functioning society.
So
Because
So as society is collapsing, and slowly but surely, everybody has like new consensuses, right? Like, so now the consensus is that like, hey, men can become women, women can become men. You can just change your gender, okay? So if that becomes the consensus, like, I mean, it's just willy nilly. It just changes all, like whatever they feel like. I mean, essentially that is progressivism. Is like they just, oh, we just change all the time whenever we feel like, and then you know what? Maybe this isn't a thing anymore. So then we change our minds. Like, I don't know, bro. It's so stupid. I hate it.
you
So the
have a
consensus again?
society where you go around throwing in prison just people that you don't like, you will basically have a society
That
that
functions?
is horrible to live in.
But functions fine.
But functions fine, yeah.
But is horrible to
But
live
functions
in.
fine. Why is
It-
that wrong?
but it
though?
functions.
Except
Other
that you don't like
societies
it.
function fine.
Sure.
There's a whole bunch of secular societies out there
Nah,
that function fine.
they
and
can't
the
even
people
reproduce
are
themselves,
much
Mark.
happier.
They can't even
There's,
reproduce
like,
themselves.
Sweden and, you know,
Well, we could put them all
very-
on. They would be much
Japan.
happier too, Mark.
What do you mean?
Yeah, I could just like you as the ultimate arbiter of all that is moral. You could just go like inject them with, make them happy.
Yeah, so I can tell that you weren't paying attention to my introduction because
Oh.
greatest happiness principle is really talking about life satisfaction. And I don't know how you would be weird enough to argue that a person on heroin.
Okay, let's argue life satisfaction. Male suicide rate has spiked out of control in the last like 30, 40 years. Never was a thing in the 60s, 70s, 50s, 40s. Even during World War One, World War Two was not a thing. Men were not just offing themselves all the time. They weren't unhappy. Generally, it's safe to say that like, hey, people are killing themselves, they're unhappy. And people will argue, well, that's just the men. No, it's the women too. The problem is women are not very good at committing suicide. And our Andrew Wilson has talked about this many times, and it is very true. Women try to commit suicide all the time. There's a lot of very unhappy women. Very unhappy women, and they lash out differently because either A, they just don't have the stomach or the balls, literally, to off themselves, or they're just not very good at it, and they kind of do it kind of in like a nonchalant way. There's a lot of people who don't necessarily just like go, they're not willing to just go ahead and blow their brains out, but they're more than willing to just let their life deteriorate around them and just ignore daily tasks and just let themselves rot until they eventually pass, right? Like, because they're unhappy. So I would argue that, like, by his own logic and his own standpoint, that, like, yeah, so it's once again proving his point that as the world becomes more secular and the United States in particular becomes less Christian and more secular, and we start embracing all these secular ideas and humanism ideas, people are becoming less and less happy, and they're offing themselves more often.
Would have life
The
satisfaction.
data correlates.
Who gets to
That would be
determine
weird.
what's life satisfaction?
Yeah, who determines that?
Well,
That's
there's
a
a
good
number
point.
of metrics, as I showed you, that we understand.
Yeah, who
by-
determined
by
those
Who
metrics?
determines those
analyzing-
metrics?
Who determined them?
What do you mean?
Who determined those metrics?
Well, the sciences involved.
Well,
physicians,
science didn't come up with
psychologists,
metrics.
Psychiatrists.
Well, like science is ever changing. That's the point of science, right? So it's like, sure, 40. Ooh, God, I can't even think of like an actual timeline. But like at one point in time, science said to like smoking was good for you. At one point in time, science said cocaine was good for you. That's why they put it in everything. At one point in time, science said lobotomies. They used to lobotomize people as like an actual form of like of helping people. Like science has been wrong all the time. That's the point. Science is like always evolving. And inevitably science always leads to God anyway, but like that's the point. Like, so it's like, oh well, science says this. Okay, But like, what scientists determine that? Is it all scientists, or is it just some scientists? Is it a consensus? Did like 30 scientists get together out of 5,000 and decide and write some papers on this, and then you happen to agree with that because and now you think like now you're the arbiter? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, you can't. There's some data points and empirical data that it's like you have to take with a grain of salt, like especially when you're determining happiness. Like, okay, well, who determines that? Because I know a lot of like people who say they're happy but they're not happy, right? So what is happiness? How do you become happy? I think that's a question that everybody asks themselves all the time. So who's the arbiter of deciding that? I mean, the Bible lays out a pretty solid path of like how to achieve happiness, and I would argue that majority of Christians are probably very happy, but and a lot of secularists and a lot of atheists who don't believe in anything are very unhappy. So why is that, Mark?
We went through
Oh,
all
so
of this
people.
in the introduction.
So people.
it's
People
basically
decide that, right?
People who studied it and, basically studied it like we study anything and come up with, hey, what do people
Mark, we study things all the time and we find out we're wrong. I mean, how did you just go through COVID? It sounds like you're Australian, mate. Actually, it sounds like he's from New Zealand. But like, how did you just go through COVID in that like authoritarian fucking state and that those authoritarian countries over there, and not like start questioning? Hey, maybe science isn't always right. Like maybe they're wrong sometimes. Maybe they overreact, or maybe they don't have all the data, or maybe they doctor data into their favor to prove their points sometimes. So it's weird.
need to be happy? What do people need to be healthy?
So help me out.
It basically like it's funny because it's an appeal to authority, right? So because they don't like, so for like it's always funny because like secularists pretend like they're above religion. They're not religious at all, but they are religion. They're married to the state. They're married to figures of authority in human society. So instead of listening and believing in God or Jesus Christ, they choose to believe in other human beings that they self-interpret as more important than them and have more status than them. Okay, this scientist went to school for this for 8 years, so clearly he can't be wrong. He must know what he's talking about. It's like, no, a lot of them don't. I mean, that's the point, right? There's not one sole science figure. Science is not like, even science does not have unanimous agreement for things. Like, I mean, you have scientists debating right now whether or not there's like a superstructure underneath the fucking pyramids. Like, they're all going back and forth and arguing with each other. Like, that's the point of science. It's open debate, like, for discovery of the truth, right? So it's like, I just don't get it. It's like, it's illogical. So basically, he's just appealing to authority. So it's like, oh, well, I'm appealing to the authority of this other person who I think is like telling the truth. It just makes no sense.
what do people need
Walk
to
me through
actually
this.
function in society?
you
What
wanted-
does a society overall
Yeah.
need to actually function well?
And do you have to make presumptions for that, Mark?
Do I have to make presumptions?
That you could measure with science?
Some of them. What do you mean? It's
Well,
so
like for
weird that you
instance,
ask that.
Mark, can you put a needle in my arm, take out my blood, and measure my happiness?
No.
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 But why would you?
So how do you measure Andrew
Can
Wilson's
I
happiness?
put a needle? Can I put a needle in your arm, take out your blood, and measure your cholesterol?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a good place to start, right? That's a measure of healthiness, right?
Yeah, but that's not a measure of well-being. You're just presuming that. You see how that's a supposition?
You don't think being physically healthy is a measure
That's
of
a
well-being?
supposition, Mark. You're supposing that. You see how you're
I'm
supposing that?
supposing it.
Yeah. You're
So
supposing
you
it.
think that if somebody is incredibly ill, they are well?
Well, what does well mean?
You sound like Jordan Peterson, mate?
Well, you sound like a really highly intelligent man that makes you question things a little bit more. That's crazy. Oh, that's funny. All right. Well, that ends that video. Sorry if this turned into an hour-long rant, and I'll apologize for not having the audio on. Because I assure you, like, the original commentary, for at least to the halfway point that I watched you, was a lot better and less ranty and rambling. But if you sat through that incoherent mess that I just went through, I love you. But yeah, we'll cover more Andrew. I'm not sure what he doesn't want people to cover, and he doesn't want. I know he said it before. So I mean, so Andrew, if you ever see this, or anybody who works under Andrew, and like this is like a no-go, just reach out to me and I'll remove the video. Like, don't copyright strike me, please, because like I don't know what like I think your TikTok invasions are like a no-go for like reactionary stuff, but this stuff's okay. If it's not, let me know. I'll just remove it, brother. Please don't just copyright strike me like a dickhead about it. Thanks.